I'm back. For those of you that have not listened to episode 1 of season 2, you're gonna want to go back and do that first. And I'll just sit here and wait. No, like for real, you need to go back and listen to okay. For those of you that are caught up, I'm Elizabeth, our resident millennial therapist. I mean, yes, the education, credential, and training is definitely yes, I'm a therapist, but this podcast was never really about that. It's about the fact that the person everyone comes to for help also sometimes is messy and needs help too, and is figuring all of that out in real time. And that's me. Season 2 is going to be a lot more of all of that, a lot less polished and a lot more human. Today, I have a guest, and before he joins, I want to set something up because I think it's super important. In the world of mental health and wellness, there's so much noise about who is qualified to provide help to other people, who has the most letters behind their name, who is able to sit across from a person in pain and call themselves a helper. Social workers versus counselors, psychologists versus everybody. I felt it, I see it, I've lived it, but I also think that all of that garbage misses the point entirely. The question is not who has the most education. The question is, are you reaching people? Are you helping people reach themselves? Because if you are, then I don't give a fuck what's on your business card. Today's episode is me putting my money where my mouth is. My guest is a life coach, and we're going to get into all of that. I want to introduce someone. Thomas Renner is joining the pod today, and I am over the moon excited for this collaboration. Thomas and I existed in the same universe for a hot second, and then we kind of lost touch in the way that sometimes people do. And then I started seeing his stuff on socials, and it was giving me all the energy. The energy that's like a kick in the ass and gets you all excited to like do new stuff. I found myself thinking, I really want to be in the same orbit with this human again. So I reached out, and then I started thinking, wait, he's a life coach and I'm whatever I am these days. I genuinely wanted to know, how did he actually arrive in professional counseling? What does he do that I don't? And where does coaching and therapy maybe intersect? And do I need to fight him about any of these things today on this podcast? The answer to that last one is still maybe, to be honest. Thomas is based in Dallas, Texas. He's in the fitness world, yoga, cycling, and now professional coaching. He is warm. He is real. He is the kind of person that you think you've known your entire life after just meeting him in the first couple of minutes. And if anyone knows me well, that is the highest compliment I can offer to another person. Thomas, welcome to Friends with Benefits, the therapy kind.
Oh, yes. Whoa. What a warm and just energetic welcome. Thanks for sharing all of that and the memories that we created in that gentle moment in time we had that had us coming back together. It's really cool to be here with you.
Very excited to start collaborating again and kind of hearing how things have evolved for you over the last few years. The professional counseling things definitely has sparked my interest, me being in professional counseling, professional coaching on your end. So we're going to dig into some of those things today. I would like to know about you first, and my audience would like to know about you first, because I mentioned you're in a lot of different spaces. You're doing a lot of different things. So can you kind of just start with like who you are, what you bring into this space? Let's start there.
Yeah, I love that question, who am I? Because as I've grown older, I'll put it in that terms versus getting older. I like that I'm growing older, not getting older.
I love that.
As I grow older, my identity just is very fluid and transitional, and it's constantly changing and growing into something that I just kind of choose in the moment every single day. And honestly, who am I? I would say that I'm an energetic ball of water and energy and organs that happens to love being with people and supporting people in whatever place they are in their life, whether it be transitional, excitement, in their growth phase, in the sad phase. There's a lot of ways that we get to experience people.
Yes.
But who I am is, I'm an artist, I'm a coach, I'm gentle personified, I'm warmth, my business, if you will, is called Renergy Coaching. So like energy is something that I thrive in and on, and creation, but also in being with. So I would just say like, I'm just energy that allows people to transform, including myself.
I love the play on your last name. Also, like Renergy is just such a like, it is a term you want to use, and it sounds
Oh,
really cool. Yeah, I love
thanks for
it.
that. I have to call back in this moment really shortly to the reason that came about was while I was at Flywheel with you,
Yeah,
when I first started, it was a hashtag competition for the
got it.
instructors. So everyone had to create their own hashtag and basically promote it because that's when Twitter was really, really big and Instagram was becoming big. Social media for cycle instructors was becoming big.
Yes.
And someone was like, well, you have great energy and your last name is Renner, so why don't you just do Renergy? I was like, well, okay. Like it was chef's kiss in an instant and I'd never looked back. You also think about like who am I when I'm not coaching someone? Like I
Yeah.
went to school for musical theater. And so I would say like when I'm not coaching someone, like I'm just either playing volleyball, singing and dancing, being goofy. I do enjoy being a still human on the couch. I do enjoy my time on the couch watching shows with my partner, Stuart. And I also run ICTC, which is an inner child theater camp for adults with some amazing people. And they're based in San Diego, but we do them all over the country now. And I'm the movement guide and choreographer for that. So that's kind of who I am outside of
Okay.
coaching.
All in giving spaces, like you
A hundred
giving
percent.
energy to others. And I think that's definitely something we'll get into a little bit later, but how much any kind of work and mental health and when you're working with other people requires so much of you. In your social content, you talk a lot about empathy. Was that always something that was part of kind of who you are, being aware of that way of showing up for people, of that emotion, or was that something that was learned, that shifted? Like how did that show up in your life, because it seems to be a really big pillar in the content that you put out?
Yeah, there's something about the way that I've been, I'll say, curated in the world, like with my experience and my upbringing and the choices that have both been made for myself, but also that I've made, that empathy seems to be this deep rooted part of who I am as a person. I didn't decide one day, be like, I want to be an empathetic person. I realized that through the energy that I was giving off, people felt comfortable speaking to me, sharing their intimate and maybe darker side of themselves. And I recognize that while that is a superpower of mine, it's also something that I have to check, right? Because it's an energy consuming, not just an energy generating part of who I am. But empathy I use as a way to connect with people because I used to use it as a vulnerability weapon. I used to say, I'm an open book, I'll share anything with you, as a way to then really not say the things that I really needed to
Yes.
say. And so in my own work through coaching, and when I was a child, I experienced a lot of therapy based on my parents' divorce. I've just generated that the empathy now is how I connect with people, and then I can either turn it on or off for the purpose of the conversation. But I use it in my coaching because it allows the conversations to go deeper. And it just is something that I exist with.
I love that.
I didn't learn it.
I love that. I do. And there's parts I think of helpers that show up in our fields, that you have at some level, some kind of innate part of you just connects in that way with other people, or it doesn't exist. And I think that's really what separates good helpers from people who have a title of a helper, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and in yogic speak, dharma is considered like one version of the translation is like the purpose. But
Yeah.
it's not the purpose that necessarily is chosen. It's the purpose that exists within you that you get to play with and learn more about and then get to express. That's how I feel empathy is part of me,
Yep.
right? Like it's part of my dharma. It's my purpose is to be such an empathetic human that allows people to go deeper in whatever avenue they're taking themselves, whether it even be with me or just a conversation I have in the airplane when I'm traveling somewhere.
Right. Right. And I think also the way we show up with that, with empathy, also gives people in a lot of ways permission to show up that way for themselves also.
Yes.
Um, so much of what I've learned in my own work, and I love that you mentioned your own, like I've gone to coaching, I've kind of done some of this own work in my personal life because I also share a lot of that on my social media. Helpers need a lot of help also. But I love, thinking about how me showing up in certain ways, especially publicly, while a little bit anxiety provoking. I shared with you as we were starting to prep for this podcast that the video component that I'm putting in this season is like nerve wracking for me. I know that showing up in this way is helpful to other people, that showing up and showing how I give empathy to myself, that I have to work on not letting that therapist mask drop down, where I show up as myself in whatever that looks like that day. I think in a lot of ways gives other people the permission, the ability, a model in some ways to do the same. If anything in this episode is hitting a little too close to home, you're probably my kind of person. I'm Elizabeth May Carr on TikTok and Instagram, and I talk about all of this, like the overthinking, the overfunctioning, and the why am I like this moments. So if you're in your own version of the middle right now, come find me, follow along, and let's talk about it. The way that I think about this in my head, because again, I can lean really heavy on the professional therapist, like, let me explain to you what therapy is side. I don't want this to be that.
Cool.
So, this is how I'm thinking about it in my own brain, if this helps. I'm at like a barbecue in the summer because I know you're in Texas, but I'm in Michigan. It's 40 degrees here today and
Oh
gray.
man.
I'm looking forward to summer and like sunshine. I'm at a barbecue, friends, people I know, there's some people I don't know. And someone comes up to me and asks the question that we all ask all the time to try to engage conversation. What do you do? So, how do you explain what you do to someone else in kind of that informal kind of setting, kind of way?
Love keeping it incredibly simple. If I put it in one word, I would often use the word transitional. You're going from point A to point B. How do I get there?
Yeah.
Who do I have to be to get there? Those are the kinds of questions we might ask. If I added a little bit more context to it, it's progressive, right? We're looking at the present and we want to move into the future. What's that journey look like? What are the actions that might need to be taken? We add in goals, accountability, things like that. However, where it gets gray is oftentimes the way that we take action or the things that stand in our way of getting what we want is something we learn from the past. So we often will reflect on the past for the purpose of where we are now to see where we need to get, but we don't live there. I like to think of it as like that's the whirlwind that just keeps going. If we just live in the past, no real action sometimes can be taken. Depends on if that's the purpose of the conversation. It's sticky. It weighs you down. But there is an emotional component to it. So reflecting on the past is something we might do for the purpose of generating what's next. When I was early on in my career, I called myself the next step coach because it really made a lot of sense for me. It doesn't necessarily resonate in the same way now. It's a great way to say like, yeah, what's the next best step to take? And coaching gives you the space to reflect and have things reflected to you that questions you in a way that you can't have your friends or your partner or your family ask because they're way too invested in your success. Whereas a coach, I'm invested in what you want. I'm not invested in how we get there, which your friends and family and your close ones would be. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to see things
it for themselves also, right?
100%.
Yeah. If they're aligned with you, they're connected with you, they are also enmeshed in,
Yeah. So we take a look at point A to point B and what are your blind spots? What are the actions that you need to take in order to achieve A to B to C to D? And it might be really large, could be A to Z. Like, what are we really creating here? And we became a thought partner together. I don't necessarily create the advice to get you where you want. In some aspects with business, there can be a consultative part of this. Yeah. But when it comes to my life coaching clients, I am not them. They're not me. We'll have similar life experiences. But I wouldn't give them advice because then, this is the layman's reason, like if you're just like looking at vernacular, if I give them a bunch of advice and then they take it and then they fail, what was the point?
Now it's on you.
Exactly. So we allow what I would say is the client is always in the driver's seat.
First of all, thought partner, buzz term, love that. I think people show up in therapy in very similar ways. That they are usually in a moment of something going on that's feeling very yucky emotionally, and they just don't know. Maybe they've repeated a pattern, being stuck in past being stuck in dialogue that runs like the ticker at the bottom of the newscast constantly in their brain. And they're kind of repeating these patterns that they notice, or they're just really becoming aware that something doesn't feel aligned. That's typically when a person shows up to therapy. And so we're in moments of crisis, we're in the moments of a lot of emotional just yuckiness.
Hmm.
And therapy begins, I think, for some of the reasons that you mentioned there. I'm really looking for someone that has answers, who has clarity, and the discovery of that that is not what therapy is, I think, a very difficult realization for a lot of people. That similar to what you were talking about. I am, first of all, I am not the expert on your life. I have no idea what your life is like. Where do your thoughts align on clients looking for a helper that has some of the same life experiences, that maybe has similar culture, speaks similar languages, has a similar upbringing? I get a lot of clients that reach out to me because of the way that I look, because of my my background, where I was raised, how I was raised. They see my, my social media, and they want a person that they think can understand them, and that's very important to them in the space where they are. What are your thoughts on clients wanting to have a helper that can understand me because they know, they kind of know my background because they've lived it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's completely necessary in some ways. But that's why I look at when you're looking for a coach or a therapist, you approach it similar to dating. Like, oftentimes the first date you go on might not be your life partner, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I've had clients that I've had vision sessions with, and at the end of the conversation, I'm like, I could help you with what you're needing, but I actually know someone that would be better for you. Or, we could work together and let's try it for 3 months because there's been some sort of similarity. And let's go from there because they're attracted to me in some way. Like, for instance, I know I get a lot of C-suite male clients because I look very similar and very masculine to them. And I get a lot of women clients because I identify as queer. So I feel like that I'm a safe place for them to sort of emote and be
Yeah.
able to share. But that doesn't make me the right person for them specifically. When
Yeah.
it comes to circumstances, I look at more of the context. Now, I know I'm using like kind of some big words, but like, if I have a similar life experience, the context of that life experience, so sort of the experience of the experience, is different. So I might relate to them and I might not. And the reason that that can be powerful is it sometimes takes a door or a block down immediately.
Yeah.
So whether it's not the same experience or not, that client then sees me and says, wow, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that just opens a lot of doorways to conversations that might not happen if it was someone without the same life experiences.
2020 was a major life changer for me, and not just because of COVID, and like all of that was very a lot also. But I think it was the first time in my adult life where I realized that I had started to build, I had gotten a lot of the way through building a life that didn't align with who I was. It aligned with everything I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to want and what it was supposed to look like. There was a house and a marriage and a dog and an SUV and all of these things. And I had started to kind of realize I've done all of these things. Why do I feel not okay? And so I started to look for a therapist. I have been in therapy several times before this. I think any therapist that goes through graduate school and does not have their own therapist, like, I don't know how people do that. It's a lot of digging into your own self. But I started looking for therapists, and I think, like a lot of people do, kind of what we're talking about here. I'm on Psychology Today, and I'm okay, that looks like a therapist, right? This looks like someone I would feel comfortable talking to. I like what's in this profile. And I came across my who is still my current therapist. I came across his profile, and there was something about the presence in the photo. The video is, I think, like 15 seconds long. And so I, added into my list. I interview, and I heard you say that, date your helper. I interviewed several different people, and immediately joining the Zoom call with my therapist felt incredibly comfortable, but still had this like voice. This is a man. Like, I have some like woman things to talk about. How is this going to work out? And must have been feeling very brave that day because was like, straight out, you're a dude. I'm not. How it like these are some of the things that I need to talk about. How is this going to work? And he showed up in a lot of the same ways you just described. I can't know what your life is like. I'm not you, but no one does. I think you should go with the feeling of, do you feel like I am someone that is going to listen, that is going to seek understanding, that is going to see you and help you get to the place where you'd like to get? And like, I even get chills thinking about that now. Like that, I mean, that was 4 years ago. And we are now on, have been on a journey for a long time. So I like kind of, and what I'm hearing and what you're saying is there is an importance to that in some capacity, with also some flexibility in, just because I look, sound, show up in the world a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that I'm the right person for you.
And here's one of the key differences. I'll play the opposite side of the spectrum for a moment to what
Love
I
it.
just said. Is I'll use myself as an example. I have had primarily female coaches my whole life.
Okay.
There have been thoughts I've had and gut instincts that have shared with me, you have work to do with male relationships. It might actually serve you to have a male coach because they're going to challenge you in ways that a woman wouldn't. And we're looking at a very gender binary. So I just want to be really cognizant that
Yes.
that's the lens I'm looking through, not that that's the only lens.
Yep.
Because that's sort of irrelevant. But having that male perspective that's different than me might actually be the key to a success lever
Yes.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the key differences around coaching versus therapy. Whereas that might not be the best choice. So if I'm a woman, I'm going to make some sweeping generalizations. If I'm a woman who's had challenging relationships with men, I might not want a male therapist because that might not be the space to make that transformation.
Yep.
Where coaching, based on the nature of it, where we don't necessarily unpack the past, we reflect on it, that might be the tool for success. Do you see the
Yes.
difference?
Yes. Yes. Very
It's a
much.
key distinction when you're dating your coach or your therapist.
Yes. And I love that phrase again. Like it's something I think that, and I guess this shows up in a lot of different space, the medical world, your lash lady, like your whatever, everyone, where we go to one person. And even the number of times I've had friends come up, like, I got my hair cut today, like I don't really like it, but like it is what it is. Like, and then you go back to that person again and you say nothing. While I understand it, it can be challenging for people to show up and be honest and open about their needs. Date your helper, ask questions. I love when new clients come and they're like, I've got questions for you. It's a great way to get to know, this is a person, regardless of their title, that you're going to be opening up to, that you're going to be hopefully eventually comfortable with being vulnerable and talking about stuff that you have put in nice packages and shoved into the back of your closet.
Yeah, and having the desire to be exploratory as a client is key because sometimes, not all the time, but I would say if we were to like throw a little bit of a distinction between therapy and coaching and sort of what might be the difference,
Yeah.
I have it, and please tell me if I'm totally wrong, is when you go into therapy, sometimes you're like, I don't really know what I need, but something's wrong.
Mm.
Whereas oftentimes in coaching, they say, oh, I just got a divorce and I need to figure out the rest of my life. So it's very clear. Where
Yes.
in therapy, it may be a little more unclear. That
Yeah.
could be a way you describe one of the differences too.
Yes. Yeah. I don't, I joke a lot with the counselors that I supervise. People don't really show up in therapy when things are going well. Right? Like they're not coming to therapy going, you know what, my life is amazing. Let me unpack childhood trauma. Let me go back to times where things were not going well and start.
Yeah.
We're really in a place of feeling a lot of turmoil or something is happening, and that's why you seek out there. Typically, why you seek out therapy. coaching, it sounds like maybe there's an action has already been taken, something has happened, or you kind of have this conceptualization that you want something to happen. And so this person can help create objectives and steps and hold you accountable to moving you into that direction.
I think one of those powerful question or powerful answers, actually, which not everyone would agree with me on this, is the answer to a question and by saying, I don't know. Because I don't know is actually the field of possibility. It's like anything is possible. If you don't know, you could choose into a lot of different areas. I was going to share something around, oh, here's something to consider when you're dating, coaching, or therapy.
Yeah.
Is oftentimes coaching can begin to be the most powerful when things aren't going wrong. Because you're in a grounded space often, you have a lot of clarity, right? So I just completed with a client recently, and he was like, things are just going really well. And it's sort of a precipice, right? You get to say, okay, great. Now this is where coaching can begin, because now we're no longer looking at what's wrong to practice the actions to take care of it or to grow from it. We've actually gotten to a place of clarity that then says, now what do I want to choose into? Like, what do I want to make new choices to generate exactly what I'm looking for? Versus if you're going through a breakup, it's processing the breakup and like, how do I continue to take care of myself and create wellness practices? You've got the wellness practices. Now you get to choose into what's my next relationship going to look like?
Action
And
versus reaction.
Right. So again, that's another like slight possible distinction when you're dating is like, well, I say all this and I'm like, I tell a lot of my couples, I'm like, have you all been to couples counseling yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, things are going really well for you. That might be an awesome time to go.
Let's mix it up.
Like truly, because then you're going to see it from this like powerful relationship lens of excitement and joy and curiosity, not from my partner has cheated on me. And so now we have to understand why that happened first.
Yes, I wish more people would enter some kind of helping situation when things are not falling apart completely.
And that's why I'll never not have a coach.
There you go. There you go. And this is definitely, since we've reconnected, I've started thinking about like a life coach. I've never considered that as part of my wellness practice. But I know you shared a Venn diagram with me, and I'm going to link it in this episode. And so maybe we can get into a little bit of that, of where things might overlap. Being a wellness practitioner, life coaching is not something that I ever considered, just to be honest.
Well, and to your point, like just to give it a little caveat here, it until recently, and I would say it's still a little bit of a gray area, it wasn't regulated. Whereas like you have a lot of, I would argue, strict rules when it comes to counseling and therapy that you have to follow for ethics purposes. For life coaching, we have, and so what, say again?
Some helpful, some not. Yes.
Correct. Well, that's a whole, yes, we'll definitely get into that. However, with ICF is the International Coaching Federation, to which I'm certified through, it was important for me when I became a coach that I had that certification because they value ethics. They value how you actually perform your coaching, that has it be incredibly client focused, and it's not advice. Whereas there's a lot of coaches on social media, you'll look, they're like, oh, I'm a health and wellness coach, and there's nothing to back it up, right?
Yes.
All that to be said, listeners, pay attention. Whenever a CEO, a CFO, or a C-suite person has hired me, no one has ever asked for my credentials.
Yeah.
Not a single one. But it's an integrity for me as the practitioner to have it, to know that I'm actually giving them the best coaching possible.
Yes. Yeah. And I do like, ding, does your life coach have some kind of entity that is holding them accountable also for their work? It sounds like that's what you're saying there. Like, the IFS, looking over kind of what you're doing and holding you to a standard. And I always am looking for how to potentially opposing or different things have a lot in similarity. Who I am at my core believes that a lot of things that we don't like, it's just we don't understand.
Yeah.
It's ignorance, not really that you don't like it. Um, and I feel like one of the things that came to my brain was professional counseling started in the same way. Professional counseling came out of school counselors in 1980s that were like, we are doing so much more than academic work, helping people, students develop their schedules and get ready for college. There's like life stuff that matters. Hello, social determinants of health. And so a license developed out of that, and a
Hmm.
whole graduate program, curriculum, standards, all of these developed out of that. So I think, the some of this beef that is internal in the mental health world really has to do with not understanding how all these arms really can work together. And in a lot of ways there are standards for all of us that we want
Yeah.
to
And the
abide by.
ultimate goal for both is that people get the help they need
Yes, connection.
and support. Like in a world where social media and work is sort of, and arguably politics are sort of shredding the foundation of community apart, these are tools of support that can help bring people back together, including
Yeah.
themselves. So I'm a big proponent of therapy, 100%.
Today on Friends with Therapy Benefits, we're really talking a lot about choices. Like, what do I actually need right now? What's good for me? What version of support, comfort, or energy fits the season that I am in currently? And honestly, that is what I love about Luna Rose Candle Company, because they have a scent for every mood your nervous system decides to have this week. Right now, I am obsessed with their Spring in Italy trio. We've got Positano Citrus, Tuscan Villa, and the Venetian Market. And listen, these are not your sad little department store candles. These smell expensive. Like you suddenly journal now. Like you're drinking sparkling water out of a wine glass and romanticizing your life for no reason at all. So, if you need your apartment, office, or emotional support bathroom to smell like a tiny European escape, go check them out. Use code Elizabeth for free shipping when you spend over $60, which you're definitely going to do. And honestly, totally worth it. Could a goal that you have with a client be that we now have a couple of these things now in the basket of a therapist would be helpful? Like, could that be something that you could be helping someone work towards? Maybe there's a barrier to them wanting to be in therapy.
Oh, 100%. I had several clients when I was working with that company that they were paired with a coach. And in my head, I'm like, this is actually not a coaching conversation. Now, we
Yeah.
could have a lot of coaching conversations around the like clinical conversation,
Yeah.
but they were just like, I don't want to go to a therapist because there are some differences.
Yeah.
And I hate this word, but it's a word that just makes it visceral. It's like sometimes therapy, depending on the clinician, can feel very sterile.
Yes.
And life coaching in its at its heart is like empathy. It's like, I'm helping you grow. Like I could be a little bit more bold. I might say things that feel a little bit hurtful because you needed to hear it. They're true. And it comes from a reflection.
Yeah.
And something that does come up a lot around like long term versus short term. I think that people need to take the reins for why they want support and for how long, because sometimes it's misconstrued that coaching is for a short amount of time and therapy is for a
Yeah.
long time. I
Yes.
think
Not
that
true.
everyone can take a break when they need to. Like if we're always reflecting every single day of the year, we're going to be exhausted because the
Yes.
point isn't to reflect 24/7, it's to live. We
Yes.
reflect to live. So that was one of the other like differences. I mean, I have no treatment. I have no clinical frameworks. That's
Yes.
mostly,
As a session is or sessions with a client is starting to feel like we're showing up for coffee. We're just kind of like hanging out to like chit chat. That is something that you bring out and talk about. Like, hey, this is what this is feeling like. I mean, and this is not that kind of relationship. Why is that happening? That happens in therapy all the time. I think, a helper, therapy, coaching, whatever it looks like, often a person is getting something that doesn't exist in a lot of other places in their life.
yeah.
They're getting someone that unconditionally is paying attention to what is happening in their life, seeing it from their perspective, And that just doesn't exist in a lot of places in our world. And that's a whole nother conversation I'm sure we can have.
For sure.
Um,
For sure.
but people hold on longer, I think, than they need to. Is that the right way to say that? Because of that, because of the way that the relationship feels. And it's like,
Well,
this is work we're doing.
you tell me if this is how you work, but how I'll often work is I generally either have a client that I'll work with for an X amount of sessions or an X amount of months.
Okay.
And it's my responsibility and theirs to some degree. It's like, great, if we're working together for 6 months, like I have a halfway checkpoint. Hey, how are we doing with whatever we came to do?
Yeah.
And then as we get to the 5th month, I make sure that we have like a full month of something before we complete. I call it completion. I'm like, okay, great. Do we still want to complete? Have we achieved what we wanted to achieve? Reinvent if necessary, or declare completion so when we actually meet for the last time, we reflect. What have we learned? What are the actions that we're having? What are the behavioral changes that we've made? And how did we do? So it's our responsibility as coaches to say, okay, how are we doing? Otherwise, we do have those coffee conversations. And I've mentioned it to my clients before. Hey, you know what? We're just having coffee now. What are we doing here? And then that puts them again back on the what? The driver's seat.
I love that. And that's where I can see a difference in therapy and coaching, and where a person might need both, that it would be very helpful to have both.
Yes.
As a therapist, you're showing up in session and really our work ends there. If you're a cognitive behavioral therapist or, solution focused therapist, maybe you're giving homework assignments with not a lot of guidance into steps and objectives and how you can tackle this in bite-sized pieces. I'm literally just telling you, it would be great if you could work on this before you see me next time. And I will tell you that 9.5 times out of 10, clients come back into session. I didn't do the homework.
What would be, actually, here's a question for you. What would be the first question you would ask them when they say that?
I would talk about barriers. What happened? Was it imperative? Like, did you find value in what we were talking about? I guess that's first.
Well, one thing that coaches were taught really early on, which I know also is in therapy, that I tend to take very much to heart, even with my friends, is asking open-ended questions. So I never ask a yes or no question like, was this valuable to you? If the answer is yes or no, then it's very binary again. It's not exploratory. So I'll say, great, what got in the way? And then I shut up. Because the longer I'm quiet, the more they get to process and think versus me giving them the answers of what got, because I likely would know. Oh, because I've had many conversations with them. What got in the way? Oh, life got in the way. The whirlwind got in the way. My kids got in the way. My relationship, my work. We know what it is, but they have to come to that realization for themselves that actually would require the behavioral change.
And I can see where, like in a therapy process, we would start to dig into the barriers and try to understand them. It wouldn't really be focused on, okay, can we hurdle them? It's still important that the assignment get done. This is aligned with the goal you set for yourself. Really, and I talk about this vision, the visual a lot. We're going down into the basement.
Yeah.
To talk about why the barriers were so heavy. All right. Before we wrap up, let's get a little bit of fun going on with a quick red flag, green flag moment. I'm going to throw a couple things out, things that people say, things that people do when it comes to looking for support. And we both get to respond to these to kind of see like where there might be some difference between therapy and coaching. I actually hope we disagree on at least one of these, because I feel like that would be a better situation. Us both is going, yeah.
Well, the Gemini and me will probably say something off color, so we're good.
So maybe, I guess we kind of have to put our own context into this, but we're hearing someone say, I have been in therapy for 4 years. Nothing has changed. Red flag, green flag. What do you do? Like, what do you say back to them?
I've been in therapy for years and nothing has changed.
For 4 years.
For 4 years. Oh, very specific. I've been in therapy for 4 years and nothing has changed. Oh, goodness. Probably something around the therapist. Like, what have you not brought to your therapist that has you sitting in that chair for 4 years, allowing nothing to change?
100%. Like, what is I'm not into the sports, but like the flag thing in football, like immediate red flag. You've been in therapy 4 years and nothing has changed. I would question that to begin with.
Also,
But what is it that you were hoping to change? What kind of conversations have you had with your therapist about the fact that you're feeling that things have not changed?
And you know what? Let me backtrack. The real
Yeah.
question I probably would ask is, great, what has changed?
Yeah. What are you missing potentially? Maybe small things. 100%.
Or even big things that they're unwilling to see because that would be too hard.
4 years is a very long time, but I think you said this earlier about, coaching being seen as shorter term, therapy being seen as longer term.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I say when I start with a new client is this should not be forever. We are here to accomplish something specific that may take 6 months, it may take 4 years, but we should always feel like we are moving, and it should not be forever. Okay, second phrase here. Someone says to you, green flag, red flag. I found my coach, therapist, on Instagram. She has like 200,000 followers. Her life looks amazing. I'm going to go with her.
I would say it could be a green and a red flag.
Okay, love it.
Here's the green flag. Love it. What do you love so much about their life that's missing for you? I would ask that. Red flag is, if your criteria is only followers, have you met with this person? And what do you resonate with them that would make a difference for you in working with them?
Yes.
Because it sounds like that's what their value is. The value is the followers.
Yes. Yes. Something that was brought out. And I think my like non-therapist Elizabeth is immediate red flag of like, let's not put our eggs in the basket of someone's Instagram and what they're putting out into the world.
Uh-huh.
My therapist side is like, this is how people get their information, right? Like this is how we look at things and we find practitioners now. This looks like the life that I want. This person looks and seems competent and confident. So being able to explore that further, what is it about this person and the way they show up that feels good to you, that feels like this is someone that could help me?
Yeah.
That's what I would want to focus on.
In turn, I think the deeper questions are less about the person they want to hire and more about them. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the question that I'm like ideating right now is,
Yeah.
but they are projecting something versus taking a deeper look at themselves.
Yes.
So if I was to even work with this person, the first thing I would do is do an inventory of their life. Look at all different areas, ask them,
Yeah.
and I would have them rank it. Your relationships with romantic partners, 1 to 10. Your financial relationship with money, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Your spirituality, 1 to 10. And see what's actually missing that has nothing to do with that coach that they want to hire.
Yes.
Because then you actually see what's missing for them. They just think they want that over there. It's the shiny thing versus
Yeah.
taking a look at what's really missing.
How about I don't need therapy or coaching. I just need someone to tell me what to do.
The sassy part of me wants to be like, great, let me know how that goes. I don't want to look at them dead in the eye. I'm like, great, let me know. I can't wait to.
No, I'm good at that. I am very bossy. I love to tell people what to do. I got into professional counseling because I thought that's what this was.
Well, it could be an interesting exercise. I'm just like throwing it out there. Like if someone comes to me and says, I need you to tell me what to, well, because this happens I say this to my personal trainer. Like, and I'm very knowledgeable in fitness, but I don't want to go to the gym and think.
Yeah.
I want to go to the gym and be like, this is what I have to do. Great.
Yes.
But when it comes to therapy and coaching, it's a little bit more intrinsically motivated and understanding yourself in a different way. That, again, I'm not living someone else's life, I'm living my life. And so if they want to hire someone to tell them what to do, they could probably just read a bunch of books and just follow what the book says. And that could be very valuable.
Yes.
But if you're going to listen to what, like if I tell you, hey, you want to go and lose 10 pounds, like great, go eat, Mean Girls special is that, go eat some Caltine bars, 1 a day, and you don't lose 10 pounds, who, again, like I told you what to do, it's what you wanted.
Right. Right. That's what you said you wanted.
Exactly.
Here's my little buzz phrase on this. I don't even know where I picked this up, and maybe this is an original thought. That people are not looking for advice, they're looking for permission. They already know the answer. They already know what they want. It's the outcome of that. It's the steps to get there. There's something, usually fear and anxiety. There is something that is preventing that from being the reality that I'm going after.
Yes.
I see a lot of my work as I'm a travel guide we're in a jungle and I've got a machete and I am just chipping things away so that you can see what is in front of you, what is around you, what direction, paths that you didn't know were there. And I think of people say a lot, I want someone to tell me what to do. They're really looking for the connection back to their own gut and intuition. They already know the answer. Here's a big one that's very real in the time we're living in. I use Chat GPT as my coach or therapist.
This is the curse of being like an internal optimist is I'm like, it's a red and a green flag. And this is also the Gemini in me that I really struggle making decisions. So like I'm being very clear. The red flag is you're asking a non-human for support. That's their only goal is to make you better, but they're not seeing the whole picture. That's the difficult thing. And that's why you see so many problems with young teens and like ChatGPT is their best friend because they're only there to please them. They don't want any conflict, like it's designed that way. The green flag is when I hear that, I'm like, oh, so they are willing to ask for support.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, let's transition that from ChatGPT being the wrong or bad choice and acknowledge that, oh, hey, you are willing to ask for support. Let's redirect that and see where we can get the best support for you.
I'm also red flag, green flag on this one. So
oh my gosh.
The exact same
yes.
thing. For the exact same reasons. Red flag, Chat GPT is a yes man. Chat GPT learns all about, I'm not calling out a specific brand of AI, but AI in general, LLMs in general, they want to please you, as you were saying. They learn about you, the way that you ask questions, and then they output information according to that. So you're going to start to get very curated answers and responses that aren't going to help solve it, whatever it is. Green flag, yes, you're asking for help. And I think AI and chat and all of these things, they're a tool to be used in combination and pairing with other things.
Other tools, 100%.
When clients come and say, I've used Chat GPT, I'm like, cool, me too. I use it every day for different things. But as long as we're using it as a tool, we understand its limitations. And yes, we are not using it to replace humanness. Totally. Use it.
So, quick question. Has your personal growth journey accidentally started to feel like a second full-time job? Because same. My newest Substack article is called Your Growth Doesn't Need to Cost You Softness, and it's basically for the women who turned healing into a performance review. The ones reading self-help books like textbooks, overanalyzing every emotion, and trying to optimize themselves into inner peace. We're talking burnout, overfunctioning, hustle culture disguised as healing, and what it actually looks like to grow without abandoning yourself in the process. If your nervous system is exhausted from trying to become your best self, this one is for you. Head over to Friends with Therapy Benefits on Substack to read the full article.
Okay, as we wrap up, before we let everyone go, I wanted to leave everybody with something practical. I know that you might be listening to this thinking, okay, I need some support maybe. I just don't know how to find someone good. And that's very real. I think both of us kind of spoke to, having different requirements and what kind of helper would be the most helpful. There are a lot of people with a lot of credentials and access to social media who may not be the right person for you. So here's what I want to ask, Thomas, of you. Whether a person is sitting across from a therapist, a coach, or anyone in between, what kind of thing should I be, one, checking in with myself? How do I feel? And then two, what kind of question should I be asking that person?
Yeah. I mean, again, your first comment was my first thing I would say is checking in with themselves. Like once it's over, this is what I tell all my clients when they go on first dates. Because what I used to ask myself was, do they want to go on a date with me again? When the real question is, do I want to see them again? Is when you meet with that person, say, would I want to have another conversation with them? Or what value did I get from that conversation? The other thing would be just asking, like, what do they love about what they do, so you can see a little bit of the human side of the expert on the other side. I really think that it's the connection that you have with a person, followed by their expertise,
Yeah.
followed by how do they work, like what does that structure look like that would be really supportive for you. And if that person doesn't ask you a lot of questions, that's a red flag.
Yes. I love that when you leave the meeting, when you leave the session, when you disconnect from the call, what is the feeling that's sitting there?
And it's really challenging, and this isn't what you asked, but it's challenging to ask that to yourself when generally sometimes the last part of the conversation is about the investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little tough. So you have to ask yourself, minus the investment, like what was the value that I received from that call and what was the energy that I'm left with?
So let me leave you with one, or leave our listeners with one last question. Um, I have shared on a lot of my media that I am a chronic overthinker and am often on the fence about things. I look for information from all different kinds of places. So if we have someone right now who is listening to this conversation and they're kind of on the fence about getting help, what kind, about whether it's worth the investment, you mentioned that. What do you want them to know?
I want them to know that the right person to support them is out there. I want them to know that what's the cost of them not getting the support. And oftentimes that's already where they're at. So it's the most powerful reflection. Like if nothing changes, nothing changes. So that doesn't feel really great to hear. But if they're coming to me and saying this is not financially feasible for me, I'm like, great. Then what will be the support that supports you? And start small. Like maybe it is that, I've never talked to my best friend before. Like just go share how you feel with your best friend.
Yep.
One step in the right direction. Great, you talk to your best friend. They say, oh, have you seen a therapist? No, I'm really scared about it. Great, what are you so scared about? Then you make your appointment with your first therapist. And then it starts the process. And every time you take one small step, the confidence begins. But what's the cost of staying right where you are? And oftentimes, the cost is already what they're experiencing. And it's not where they want to be. So that's often the most powerful space to just live in, because then they're going to make the choice to take action.
I think often the first step is the most difficult. Once we can share a piece of kind of what we're going through with someone else, at least in my own personal experience and professional experience, it has been that a lot of that burden becomes alleviated. The number of times I've said something that I've been holding, but like, I don't want to, this is too much. And a person has said back to me, girl, same. Like I also have, or like I know someone, and it just is so, even just that piece of connection is so incredibly helpful. So,
and that brings the conversation full circle. We talked about why would you choose someone that might look like you, sound like you, act like you?
Yes.
Right? Here we are back at the beginning.
I started this podcast because I needed permission to be messy in public. And I'm still waiting for that permission, honestly. I finally just stopped waiting to feel comfortable in talking about some of these things and not showing up polished and perfect and ready. And I think that is a lot of what holds people back a little bit from starting with a helper, therapy, coaching, whatever it looks like. So I want you to know, if you're listening to this and you don't feel ready, what if that moment never comes? Just take a step. You're ready enough. Thank you so much.
I love that. Ready
for
enough.
Your time. Ready enough. I appreciate this conversation. I hope there will be many more.
Me too.
Until next time.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Thanks, Liz. You're phenomenal.